It's Todd Wright tonight on SNR.
I considered changing the music for tonight's fantasy draft, but we'll just have the right music for Jim Ross when he appears next hour here on the show. Time for the Wrestlemania fantasy draft. Also, let me do some housekeeping here, because over the last couple of weeks, we've had some things going on where people have earned the right to play on. 2 weeks ago, we had the Final Four fantasy draft. The goal was to pick a team to make the Final Four. So 4 of us did. I was one of them. We had Robert Negley, went with the field as the 5th pick. That got him VCU. We had Kevin Lark in Indiana, who had Butler. Kevin doesn't really follow WWE, so I'm giving him a briefcase to cash in whenever he wants in a future draft. Kevin is listening as we speak. And Greg Hodges, little did I know, who even has access to the damn building at the network, scored with Kentucky on a late pick. So he is in this draft. And, of course, our buddy Naeem Sharif, who plays along often via Twitter, cashed in the Money in the Bank last week. And we all know when you cash in the Money in the Bank, you're not going away immediately. So he's back this week. So it was going to be a fatal 4-way for the championship, but Will really hasn't earned the right to compete for the title. But he is in tonight's draft. So since Kevin is sitting out and I'm recusing myself from playing for the championship, it is a triple threat match for our fantasy draft championship. The rules are simple. Any personality that has ever been involved with a Wrestlemania, just one or many, is eligible to be drafted. That's why I'm going to, funnel names that we know have been involved in any of the 26, soon to be, you can include this year, we know who's on the card, 27 events. If they had some role in the show, you can draft them. We're looking, though, for some good names. Don't let some legendary names slip down the board and embarrass all of us. All right, first pick. We'll go 3 rounds, and then we'll go to the phones and to Twitter with the first pick in the WrestleMania Fantasy Draft and our first participant in the triple threat match for our championship, Greg Hodges. Greg.
Todd, when you talk about WrestleMania, it comes down to one thing. Wins, and my guy never lost. 18 up, 18 down. Todd, give me my fellow Estonian, the Dead Man, the American Badass, The Undertaker.
I like the first pick. It's not the only one I thought of at the top of the board, but he's got to be in the first round for all the reasons Greg gave. Undertaker goes number 1 in the WrestleMania Fantasy Draft. Cashing in the Money in the Bank last week. I made him research hot babes last week. This week I had him Googling WrestleMania matches. Naeem, I hope I'm not interrupting, normal productive things you would otherwise be doing. You're up with the second pick.
No problem, Todd. This pick, this guy, he's the one that ushered in the whole showstopper era. Shawn Michaels, a fellow Texan, he is my second pick because he has brought the entertainment aspect to WrestleMania. One of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He recently was forced to retire due to a loss to The Undertaker, but again, he has to be in the first round.
And he goes into the Hall of Fame later this week. Shawn Michaels up on the board at number 2, often called Mr. WrestleMania. Let's go to Robert Negley, also in this triple threat match. Robert, I won't give you the field for the WrestleMania fantasy draft, although that would be a very interesting field by the time I could figure out all the people who were and weren't picked. But no field bet this time, but good job with the field 2 weeks ago for VCU. Who you got third pick?
All right, Todd, my wrestling background dates from, I'd probably say, WrestleMania 5 or so till about 12.
Nice.
And my favorite wrestler growing up, maybe not a first-round pick, but to me he was. I didn't have many championship belts. I'm going to go with the Ultimate Warrior.
Well, considering your era, And especially when you first caught on around 5 and 6, especially 6 at Toronto. Yeah, I can understand you going with him. Ultimate Warrior up on the board, 3rd overall in the WrestleMania Fantasy Draft. And now we look down the ramp, which must chagrin. It's almost like looking to see if Vicky was coming down, because Will is about to make his first-round pick in the WrestleMania Fantasy Draft. Will, go ahead.
Todd, The Undertaker may have the streak. Shawn Michaels may be Mr. WrestleMania. But without this man, it never would have happened to begin with. Let's go ahead and take Vince McMahon.
Yeah, sure. I got no problem with that pick at all. Nice presentation as well, Will. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, 4th pick in the WrestleMania Fantasy Draft. All right, so I've attended 2. X7, I still love that name, and 24. Funny, a lot of Houston elements here. I was at the Houston WrestleMania at the Astrodome. It's the only event I've ever seen at the Astrodome, and I'm proud to say it. But I'm going to go to 24 for my selection, if nothing else, because he deserves to be a first-round pick, and because we all knew that was the end. We saw it coming for a while. As long as he won, he could keep entering the squared circle. And whether it was the build-up, the entrance, the match, or the goodbye, it was something to be in the Citrus Bowl 3 years ago when the Nature Boy performed at WrestleMania for the last time. So I'll take Ric Flair, 5th overall. Greg, 2nd-round pick. Go ahead.
Todd, I might intern, but trust me, I love me some money. So when Andre the Giant slammed Big John Studd to claim the Brains $15,000, only to take that cash and throw it into the crowd, well, that's my guy. I select Andre the Giant with my 2nd pick.
And not even a reference to one of the greatest indoor sports entertainment moments ever, which we will talk about with JR at WrestleMania 3, which helped. Well, we'll let JR talk about that later, because there's another guy in that match who's probably going to be picked here very soon. And if not, I was never a fan, but hey, he's got to be up there. Naeem, who you got 2nd round?
You have to go with Stone Cold Steve Austin right here. He should be a first-round pick, but I'm going to go with Stone Cold because he ushered in the Attitude Era of the WWE, one of the greatest, I would say, storylines ever with him and Vince McMahon feuding all those years.
And I always, still to this day, look very closely to see what brand of beer he is playing with as he finishes up whatever he is doing in the ring. The last time it was Keystone Light. When he did San Diego, it was Corona. That wasn't a bad touch. Let's go to Robert Negley with his 2nd-round pick, 8th overall in the WrestleMania Fantasy Draft.
All right, Todd, I'm going to date back to WrestleMania 1, 85, 3 years after Rocky 3 was made and Clubber Lang was in it. Hulk Hogan teamed up with Mr. T in a tag team match, which they won. I'll go ahead and take Mr. T.
Mr. T up on the board. Well, again, one of those that Vince McMahon has very smartly brought in to bring more mainstream attention to the event. I knew we'd have those. Didn't think Mr. T would go as high as 8. Will, who you got at 9?
Todd, with the 9th pick, I'll take the man who was all about what WrestleMania is all about. WrestleMania, at the end of the day, is all about entertaining the fans. And no one in the history of the WWE has entertained the fans better on the mic than the one and only The Rock.
You got The Rock at 9, host of this year's event. I'll go back to X7 in Houston for this one because they were one of the best tag teams back when we actually cared about tag teams. They just recently have reformed and had a couple of matches together. Basically, it's one guy having another guy's back. And at X7, there was a TLC match for the Tag Team Championship between 2 other teams, Christian and my pick, the 11-time world champion, the Rated R superstar, and a good dude. We've had him on the show. I go Edge with the 10th pick. All right, quickly, about 20 seconds each for your third rounders, guys. Last chance to get who you want in the WrestleMania fantasy draft. Greg, you have The Undertaker and Andre the Giant. Who do you want with the 11th pick?
Todd, if you're going to have a match, you got to have somebody to call that match. Well, my next pick pulls me both ways. I'm a guy that likes to cook, and this guy sells Chipotle ketchup. Then there's the fact that he's a Sooner, and I'm a Longhorn. But every time I hear his enthusiasm for barbecue, football, and of course wrestling, I can't help but like the guy. Todd, I select Hall of Famer Jim Ross.
And he will be on the show next hour, Greg. Way to appeal to the host. Nicely done. Naeem, you have Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin. Who's your final pick?
I'm going to go a little different here. I'm going to go with senior referee Earl Hebner. I mean, honestly, NBA referees think wrestling referees miss blatant calls. It's great to be a wrestling referee. You just look the other way, you get distracted, nothing happens to you, and you have a job for 20 years missing calls. It's great.
It's like being a weatherman. Earl Hebner. I like it, Naeem, at 12. Robert, who you got at 13? You already have Ultimate Warrior and Mr. T.
All right, I got to thank Shaka Smart for letting me be a part of this draft with VCU. I'm going to go ahead and take Jimmy Superfly Snuka with the WrestleMania 25 in the handicap match.
Wow, Jimmy Snuka up on the board. One of the early victims of the Taker streak. Will, who you got at 14? You have Vince McMahon and The Rock.
Todd, I'm the greatest. Well, actually, no, I'm personally kind of subpar. But this guy is the greatest. He was the guest referee at WrestleMania 1. I'll take Muhammad Ali.
All right, we have a guest referee reference, getting Muhammad Ali in there at 14. I'm going to go back to X7 one more time because he won a singles match about the middle of that event. And I asked a friend of mine who used to work for WWE a couple years ago, I said, of all the guys you've lost for various reasons, injury, other things, who's the one that had the brightest future that you really miss being there? And he said the name that I hoped he would say. Because at his height, there was nothing like yelling, "You suck," when Kurt Angle came down the ramp, and I loved the triple threat match for the World Championship at Allstate Arena going back about 5 years. And the inspiration for the winners and losers, of course, is his music from WWE. I'll take Kurt Angle at 15. 800-777-2907. Twitter.com/TODD_WRIGHT. We'll continue with the WrestleMania Fantasy Draft next.